Hi guys, I have two dreams and a vision that I would like to share with you. I had these dreams and this vision 3 or 4 days ago, but I wanted to make sure. I knew that they were important by the Spirit, but I wanted to pray about them and chew on them, and I think I'm ready to talk about them now. I think I understand, but I ask that you would also discern, and if you have any thoughts, feel free to leave me a message about them. This dream, the first dream was in 3 segments, and I want to help you to understand where it was. I don't know if this is relevant or not, but the property that I live on, my mom lives on this property. There's a big field, and across the field is my brother's house, and I live on another part of this property. Our house is on another part of it. But the dream so there's 3 segments to the first dream, and one took place in my mom's house, one in the field between my mom's and my brother's, and the other in my brother's house, even though in my dream it was not my brother's house and it was not my mother's house in the dream. But just to say that so you'll understand. The dream began, and I think I was living in my mom's house, and I had been taking care of a young woman, maybe 21, 22 years old, and she had cancer. She was terminal. She was dying, and I had been taking care of her. And in the dream, in the first segment of this dream, she came to me and told me that she was giving up, that she didn't want to live any longer, that she was going to die, and she wanted me just to let go of her. And so I held her, and together we cried together. And I didn't want her to. I wanted her to keep fighting this cancer, not to give in to it. But she was determined, so I was going to let her go. The next segment of the dream, she was standing in the field between the 2 houses. And I don't know why, but it was my son was with her in this field. Actually, I do think I have a revelation of that, actually. But anyway, it being God's son. But anyway, she was with my son and some other people in the middle of this field. And I was going out to the field just to be with him, to talk to him, and my son turned and he came to meet me, and he throwed his hands up at me like this as though to stop me, and he said, "Mom, we've prayed about it and we have peace about this. She's doing the right thing." And I was like, okay, I've already told her that I'll support her in whatever she decides. And I turned around and went on back to my house, which was my mom's house in the dream. And then I started thinking, I've been with her this whole time. I'm not going to let her die alone. I'm going to go support her in her death. And so I went across the field to my brother's house, my natural brother, and it was not his house in the dream. He wasn't there. There was nobody in the house but the girl that I had been taking care of. She was laying on a sofa in the living room as soon as you walk in the door. She was hooked up to an IV. There was a drip that was morphine, I think, something for pain. And this is weird, it was like a mystic guru sitting at her feet. He was in a chair sitting at the end of the sofa, and he was sitting up high in a high chair, a chair that's set up high. And he was saying something, but I didn't really pay too much attention. But I just wanted to be with her. I wanted to comfort her. I wanted to hold her hand and pray with her as she passed from one life into the other. But she was full of bitterness. All of a sudden, she hadn't acted that way in the dream, when she was with me earlier in the dream. But she was full of bitterness, and she turned away from me, and she wouldn't let me hold her hand. And I asked her, what's wrong? And why do you feel this way? What have I done to hurt you? And the only thing that she told me that I had done to hurt her was that there had been one boy who had come into our house just once, like a visitor. He'd just come in and left. He was there one time or twice, just not very many times. And she accused me of loving him more than I loved her. And I said, that's not true. I said, I don't even know him. I said, I'll admit, when you first came, I didn't really like you very much. I said, but over time, I fell in love with you, and I thought you loved me too. So I was really shocked at her attitude toward me. And so I stood away from her and just trying to figure things out and just thinking over the situation. And there was a gray spider that kept jumping on me. I went to one side of the room and that big gray spider jumped on me, and I went and stood somewhere else and that big gray spider came and jumped on me again. And finally I just said, she doesn't want me here, so I'm leaving. And so I left. I went out the door, and then I got outside in the yard and I thought, I forgot my purse. So I went back in to get that. And when I picked my purse up, she saw me and she said, oh yeah, and by the way, you owe me money. And I said, what do I owe you money for? I don't owe you any money. And she said, for all those Sunday morning services you made me go to. And I thought, okay. And I just thought, whatever, and I just walked out the door. And that was the end of that dream. And then I had another dream immediately, a shorter dream. In this dream, I was at my bed, and I got in the bed, but I didn't get in the bed with my feet in the bed and lay long ways the way you normally would. But I sat on the side of the bed and I just laid back, and I had my feet still on the floor. And the Spirit of the Lord came on me so strong that literally I could not move any part of my body, and I could not speak. I mean, I couldn't move anything. Couldn't move my arms, couldn't move my head, couldn't do anything. The glory, the power of God was on me so strong as I laid upon this bed. And then the Lord took my head. It was so gentle. He took my head and he turned my head to the left, really slow, but all the way, very, very slow. He turned my head and brought my head back. And then he turned my head all the way to the right and he brought my head back. And then after that, the glory, the presence of God started rising off of me so that I could move my limbs again. I could move. But when that happened, when the glory started coming up off of me, at the same time, I started feeling the glory come upon my mouth, not to hold it down, but the anointing of God. I felt my mouth kind of burning, not in a hurting kind of way, but tingling. And I could just feel the presence of God, the glory of God, the hand of God on my mouth so strong. And that was the end of that. And I woke up right after that. And then I had a vision, and it was just a quick vision of a tree. And it was a tall tree, and it was plumb full of beautiful green leaves. And the leaves were blowing very strongly in the wind. So strong that I wasn't sure if the leaves were just shaking or blowing, but I'm pretty sure that they were blowing. But they were blowing so hard that they were shaking in the wind. But they were not one leaf fell off, but they were just blowing. And that was it. It was just a quick vision. And at first I just didn't know. I mean, I didn't even know if this was God speaking. It took me a while, praying on it and thinking about it. And I talked to my husband about it, my son about it, and we chewed on it. And this is what I believe that the Lord is saying. I believe that this word is a word for the true men and women of the Lord. And I believe that it showed a picture of the church in the past, and the church where God's taken us in the leadership. And I know that this is true, that the Lord is wanting to take over. He's wanting the leadership of the church to enter into his rest, where our work is finished. Because in the dream, I truly loved that woman. That's how I knew that I represented church leadership in the dream. And that's how I knew I didn't represent the false leader, because in the dream I truly loved her. I made mistakes. And one thing I forgot to say is I do remember telling her, because when I was in the room and I was thinking, what have I done to make this woman hate me? And I was thinking, well, maybe I said harsh words somewhere, in correction through this year maybe. I couldn't remember nothing specifically that I had said, but, I just thought I was taking the blame for her bitterness. And I was saying, surely I've done something. Well, it has to be more than I love that boy, more than I loved her, and it had to be more than her resenting the Sunday morning services. What was going on. And so I apologized, I repented to her, and I said, I know that obviously I've done something, I've hurt you, and I asked you to forgive me, and she didn't respond. She didn't say nothing. When I told her, surely I've said things to hurt you, she didn't say, oh yeah, you did, and tell me what they were. She didn't say anything. But so I was very humble in this dream, and so I know it doesn't represent false leadership. I know that it does represent true men and women of God that truly loves God, and they're in it for the right reason, and they're doing the best that they can. But God has a better way, and the Lord wants to take over. And I believe that the tree at the end represents, of course, in the middle is the God being completely in control. Where I didn't make not one move unless God made it for me in my body. I could not move, and that's the way the Lord wants us to be. That's the way He wants His Christian leaderships, His pastors, His teachers, His apostles, His prophets. That's the way He wants us to be. And if we'll be that, then the church won't be the mess that it is. But it will be like that tree at the end. It will be strong and mighty, and it can stand even in the storm that blows against it. And God is going to, only God, listen, we can't do it. We can't do it. We can only do it through Him by submission. And that's what God is saying, completely and totally surrender and submit to Him. And that's what He's requiring. And I know that. And the Lord has talked to me about that many times before, that is what the Lord is requiring of His leaders. And once the Lord told me, through a prophetic word that I gave in a church actually once, was the Lord said that I'm going to replace the rebellious ones with the burning ones, and God's going to take over His church, and the Christian leaders that's willing to submit to Him and to stop doing things in our own strength and with our own mind and let God take over. He's going to use those in a powerful way in these last days. I ain't kidding you, in a powerful way. But the ones who wants to continue on in their own way and do things their own way, God's going to remove them, and He's going to replace them with leaders. And it'll be nobodies. A lot of them will just be, and I think we're all nobodies. Only through the blood of Jesus Christ is anybody anything. And that's just how I feel about it. I know that's the truth. But God is going to use unknown people they have a heart for Him, and they will obey Him, because you know what? That's all God's looking for. He's looking for people, for Christian leaders that He can have total control. He can have, just like in that dream, He had total control over me. I could not do a thing. And God's not going to force it on us. We have to be willing. We have to say, Lord, take over. I'm at the end of myself. And many times my best efforts have not measured up to your standards, even my very best efforts. Because in my dream, it was my very best efforts. I thought that she loved me and that I had really done a good thing, but she gave in to cancer, which represents sin in the world, and she just wanted to go back to it, and she went, and that really hurt me. The fact that I remember thinking in the dream, that guru that sat at her feet, that mystic guru, I thought, she don't even know that man. She just met him, and she wants him here at such an important time, rather than me, somebody who's been laboring over her and praying with her and taking care of her all this time. And she wants him, a mystic guru, to sit at her feet while she passes from one life into the other. But anyway, I think I've shared my heart of what I think this means and what the Lord is speaking. And this is a word. This is a word for pastors and teachers and apostles and prophets of God. That the Lord wants to take over, and He's going to take over. He's going to do a mighty work, and He's going to prepare the bride for the groom. And He wants His church to be mighty and strong. And just to think about real quick, that she said I owed her money for all those Sunday morning services I made her go to. To me, I laugh, because our we have a house church, and we don't have Sunday morning services. I haven't attended Sunday morning services, not in a religious way. I haven't attended Sunday morning services for many years, since the Lord called me out of church and told me that it's time for us, that He had a work for us to do, and we stepped out into ministry. And not, like I say, it's not that I think that Sunday morning services is bad. I don't. I think that You know, Paul said that any day, I do know that Saturday is the true Sabbath. It's the true Sabbath. But Paul said that you didn't have to get all religious about it. You know, that whatever day we choose, you know, and I think we're supposed to worship him every day, but I do believe that we're supposed to take a day where he comes actually first on that day. And it can be a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday or a Tuesday, and the way I understand the Bible and the way I understand what Paul was saying. But obviously the girl felt that I had held her to religious traditions, you know, and maybe even false religious traditions. I'm not sure. But she resented it, I'll tell you that. She resented it, and she said I owed her money for all those Sunday morning services. I'm sorry, I just think that's kind of funny. But you know, I'd be curious what you guys think about this, exactly what the Lord is saying. But you know, I think it is a warning, and I think that it is. I think it's encouragement too from the Lord that he's about to take over, and you know, and I'm glad he is. Praise God. You know, I want the church to be healthy, not messed up, and people leaving the church in droves and they're hurt. And a lot of times, you know, it is the false church. You know, we know there's a false church. We know there's a lot of false pastors out there. We know it. But there's a lot of good pastors out there too, and they mean well. But even still, our best, I'm telling you people, I'm telling you children, I'm telling you leaders, I'm speaking to the leaders, that our best effort is not good enough. We need Jesus to take over, and he's about to take over his church. So just submit yourself to the Lord, rest in him, and let him take over and do exactly what he says to do. I've started a teaching segment, and I'm going to be teaching on how to hear the voice of God, because that's so important. And everything I say, I'm going to tell you to obey the Lord. So how can you know, we can obey the Bible, but God speaks to us directly too. So I'm going to be talking about that real soon. Maybe today I'll get that video made, but if not, you know, very soon, very, very soon. So God bless you. Thank you for listening. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about these dreams. If you see something in it, you know, and I didn't talk about a lot of the things in it, like the spider jumping on me, and we know that that's the devil. We know that's the demons. That's, you know, the attacks of the enemy. And we know that that's always there. But God is with us, and he's made us mighty and strong. And so we don't worry about that. But God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.